The night was cold, the kind of cold that bites through leather jackets and seeps into your bones no matter how fast your bike roars down the highway. Jake, Ironhand, Carter, a grizzled biker known for his silence and scars, was riding home from a long, lonely trip that stretched over 2 states. The neon lights of the city flickered in the distance as he slowed his bike near an abandoned industrial district. He wasn't looking for trouble. Trouble had always known how to find him on its own. But that night, fate didn't just find him, it screamed at him. As he turned the corner, the beam of his headlight caught something on the ground. At first, he thought it was just another pile of trash, until he saw a faint movement. He slammed the brakes and jumped off his bike, his boots splashing into a puddle of red water. Lying there, in a pool of her own blood, was a woman in a shredded police uniform. Her badge glimmered weakly under the streetlight. Her breathing was shallow, her face pale, her eyes flickering open and closed like a candle about to go out. "Hey, hey, stay with me," Jake shouted, dropping to his knees. His hands, rough from years of grease and gravel, pressed against her side to stop the bleeding. She groaned, whispering something he couldn't understand. Then, through blood-stained lips, she murmured, don't let them find me, please." Jake's heart hammered in his chest. He'd seen violence, he'd caused it too, but never had he seen a cop, a dying cop, begging for mercy like a hunted animal. He looked around. The street was empty, but his instincts told him they weren't alone. He pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around her to keep her warm. "You're gonna be fine," he said, even though he didn't believe it. He reached for his phone. No signal. Of course, not here. The city's dead zones were known for their darkness and silence. He had a choice. Call it in and risk her being found by whoever did this, or take her with him. And Jake Carter wasn't the type to walk away from someone begging for help. He lifted her gently, feeling how light and fragile she was. Her gun was still in its holster, the safety on, the clip half empty. He slung her over his shoulder, mounted his Harley, and sped into the night. The engine roared like a thunderstorm, and with every mile, he could feel her heartbeat weaken against his back. When he reached his small workshop on the outskirts of town, he kicked the door open and laid her down on an old couch. His hands trembled. He'd never patched up a cop before. Hell, he'd spent most of his life running from them. But that didn't matter now. He tore through his medical kit, cleaned the wound, and wrapped her midsection in gauze. The bullet had missed the artery by an inch. Pure luck, or maybe something more. As dawn crept through the broken windows, she stirred. Where am I?" she whispered. "In my shop," Jake replied gruffly. "You were bleeding out in the street. You're lucky I came by." Her eyes darted around. "You shouldn't have brought me here. They'll come after you too." "Who?" Jake asked. She took a long, shaky breath. "Cops. My own unit. They tried to kill me." Jake froze. "What the hell are you talking about?" She winced, trying to sit up, but the pain pushed her back down. "My name's Officer Emily Hart. I was investigating a case, a trafficking ring. Turns out, half my precinct was part of it. I found evidence, told my partner, and that's when the ambush happened." Her eyes filled with tears. "I saw his face. My partner. He was the one who shot me." Jake's jaw clenched. Betrayal was something he understood all too well. "You're saying dirty cops tried to bury you in that alley?" She nodded weakly. "And they'll do it again if they find me." Jake looked down at his hands, then back at her. "Then they won't find you." That was the moment everything changed, for both of them. For the next 2 days, Jake nursed her back to life. He didn't ask questions about the law or the evidence. He only cared that someone had tried to kill her for doing what was right. He learned that Emily had joined the force after losing her brother to gang violence. She'd promised his grave that she'd make the streets safer. But now, the very people she trusted had turned against her. When she finally stood again, her uniform was gone, replaced with one of Jake's old flannel shirts. "You could have called an ambulance," she said quietly. Jake smirked. "And let those bastards finish the job. Not my style." She studied him. The tattoos, the scars, the sadness behind his eyes. "You were military, weren't you?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Marine. Once upon a time. Lost my unit overseas. Came back different. Couldn't fit in anymore, so I hit the road. She gave a faint smile. Guess we're both survivors, then. For the first time in years, Jake felt something he hadn't felt since the war: purpose. He knew what he had to do: protect this woman until she could expose the truth. That night, while Emily rested, Jake sat on his porch, cigarette glowing in the dark. The wind carried faint echoes of engines. Not Harley engines, police interceptors. They were getting close. He crushed the cigarette and ran inside. "They found us," he said. Emily grabbed her gun, still weak but determined. "I'll draw them away." Jake cut her off. "You're not going anywhere. You trust me." She hesitated, then nodded. He revved up his bike and told her to hang on. They burst out of the garage just as headlights flooded the driveway. Bullets cracked the air. Jake swerved through the trees, sparks flying as metal kissed gravel. Emily fired back, hitting one of the pursuers' tires. The cruiser flipped into a ditch. They tore down the backroads until the city lights disappeared behind them. When they finally stopped, both were breathing hard. Emily's hands were shaking. "You just made yourself a target," she said. Jake looked at her and grinned. Wouldn't be the first time. They took refuge in an old biker hangout deep in the mountains. The place was run by Jake's old friend, Tank, a bear of a man with a heart just as big. When Tank saw Emily's badge, he frowned. "You sure about this, brother?" "Helping a cop." "She's not one of them," Jake replied. "She's fighting the same devils we are." Tank sighed and nodded. "Then she's family now." For the next few days, Emily recovered fully. Jake's biker brothers helped her trace the dirty cops' movements, using their underground contacts. Piece by piece, they uncovered a network that stretched through the city: corrupt officers, politicians, and even businessmen who profited from pain. Emily was determined to bring it all to light. But she couldn't do it alone. "You know," Jake said one night, as they watched the sunrise over the valley, "you remind me of someone I lost once. My sister. She was a nurse, always trying to save the world. Died in a hit and run. No one ever caught the driver." Emily looked at him softly. "Maybe this is your chance to save someone else." He smiled faintly. "Maybe it's yours too." The next morning, they rode out together, him on his Harley, her riding pillion behind him, wind whipping through their hair. The mission was dangerous, but neither looked back. They had one goal: to deliver the evidence to the press before the corrupt officers could silence them forever. As they reached the outskirts of the city, a roadblock appeared ahead. 4 police SUVs lined up like predators waiting for prey. Jake slammed the brakes. Emily clutched his shoulder. "It's them," she whispered. Jake revved his engine, eyes blazing. "Then we go through." They sped forward, the roar of the Harley echoing through the streets. Bullets flew, glass shattered, and sirens wailed. Emily ducked low, firing her last rounds to clear the path. Jake leaned hard, dodging spikes, sparks flying off the tires. They broke through the blockade, leaving chaos behind. But just as they reached the bridge, another car rammed them from behind. The bike skidded, throwing them both to the ground. Pain shot through Jake's leg, but he crawled toward Emily, who lay bleeding again. Her eyes fluttered open. "Jake, take it." The drive. She pulled a small flash drive from her vest, the evidence she'd risked everything for. Jake took it, his jaw set. "You're not dying on me again, Hart." She smiled weakly. "You already saved me once, now save the city." He could hear footsteps approaching, armed men in uniform. He grabbed his gun, fired a few warning shots, then scooped Emily into his arms and limped toward the riverbank. The bridge was collapsing from the gunfire. He didn't hesitate. He jumped. The icy water swallowed them whole. When he surfaced, coughing, Emily was unconscious. He dragged her to the shore and carried her through the darkness until they reached an abandoned warehouse. She was alive, but barely. He pressed his forehead to hers. "Hold on, officer. Just hold on." Then he pulled out the flash drive and stared at it. That tiny piece of metal held enough truth to burn an empire. Over the next 2 days, Jake used every biker connection he had. He found a reporter he trusted, a war journalist who owed him a favor. Together, they uploaded the files to multiple news outlets. The story exploded nationwide. Headlines screamed of corruption, human trafficking, and betrayal within the police department. Arrests followed. The chief resigned. The mayor called for federal investigation. But none of it mattered to Jake unless Emily survived. He spent every night by her side in a hidden safe house, whispering, "You did it, heart. You brought them down." When she finally opened her eyes, the world outside had changed. "You kept your promise," she said weakly. He smiled. "So did you." For the first time, she laughed, a soft, broken laugh that sounded like sunlight. "You're not as scary as you look, biker." He chuckled. "Don't tell anyone. I've got a reputation to keep." They sat together in silence as dawn broke again. The same dawn that once felt cold and hopeless now shimmered with something new. Redemption. Weeks passed. The city began to heal. The corrupt officers were behind bars, and Emily's name was cleared. She was hailed as a hero, the cop who stood up against her own department. Yet, when reporters asked how she survived that night, she simply said, "Someone who doesn't wear a badge reminded me what honor means." Jake stayed in the shadows, watching her on TV from his garage. He didn't need recognition, he never did. For him, it was enough knowing she lived, that justice had a fighting chance again. One evening, as he was tuning his bike, the door creaked open. Emily stood there, dressed in civilian clothes, a faint smile on her face. "Thought you'd disappeared," she said. He shrugged. "Figured my part was done." She stepped closer. "You saved me, Jake. More than once. And I owe you my life." He shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. Just keep doing what you do, the right thing." She hesitated, then pulled something from her jacket, his old Marine tag, which he'd lost in the river that night. "Guess this belongs to you." He took it, his eyes softening. "Didn't think I'd see that again. I couldn't let you vanish without saying thank you," she said quietly. "Besides, I figured, maybe the world still needs both of us, the biker and the cop." Jake chuckled. "Now that's a strange team." She smiled. "The kind that gets things done." They stood there in silence for a long moment, two souls shaped by pain but healed by purpose. Finally, Emily extended her hand. "Ride with me." Jake stared at her hand, then at the open road behind her. The engine of his Harley gleamed in the sunlight. He smiled. "You sure you can handle the wind?" "I handled you, didn't I?" she teased. He laughed, the kind of laugh that came from deep inside, one he hadn't felt in years. As they rode off together, the city faded behind them, replaced by the endless road ahead. The sun dipped low, painting the sky gold and crimson. For once, the biker who ran from everything had found something worth chasing. Not revenge, not redemption, but peace. And the world, for all its darkness, had one more story of hope: a dying cop, a broken soldier, and the night they refused to let evil win.